Alrighty, folks, welcome. You can come on in, have a seat. Well, today we have a very special treat. We have Isaac Foreman here with us to not only play the organ for us, but first explain a little bit about this wonderful historic instrument that we have here in our community. Before we get started, I'd like to ask you all to please take a moment to double check your cell phones, any electronic devices you have. Get those silenced so we don't get interrupted as we go through. He's going to give you a little bit of information, a lot of information probably. You'll probably get a chance to maybe even see a little bit more about what's happening up there. Then we'll have a little break, and in about an hour the concert will start. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you Isaac Foreman.
Thank you. Also, before I start, I'd like to say thank you to Lisha for not only inviting me to come give this presentation and recital for you all, but for helping to organize all of it. So thank you, Lisha. So what you're looking at and what you're going to hear in just a few minutes is what I believe to be one of the most remarkable treasures of this church and also Salida. The most common misconception about organs is that the only thing that makes the sound is what you're seeing, but in fact on this organ the majority of the instrument is behind that wood wall right there. I'll give you just kind of like a crash course in how an organ works in general before I go into some specifics about this organ. What you really need to know is that the organ is basically a big collection of whistles. The pipes that you see there on the front are a good example of that. That's what we call a flue pipe. So you'll see there's a notch towards the bottom, and of course they're all different lengths. The larger the pipe, the lower the sound. The smaller the pipe, the higher the sound. And what happens is that air comes through the bottom of the pipe, and it's then split. The airstream is split where that notch is towards the bottom of the pipe. And that's what creates the sound, just like a whistle, or another example would be like a flute, where the airstream is split and it goes through a tube. There are another type of pipe is a reed pipe, where there's actually a brass reed that vibrates when the air goes through it. You can't see any of those on the outside, but once I take you up there and you look behind the wall, you'll be able to see some of those. Before the air gets to the pipe, there's a big, massive blower, as is true about all organs. A big machine that produces a bunch of wind. Back before electricity, this was actually hand pumped while the organist was playing. Now, of course, electricity keeps the air coming, and it is then funneled into wind chests, where the air is kept on reserve. So underneath the pipes, there are these big boxes, which you'll see if you look back there, that just hold a bunch of air. And then when you push a key or a pedal over here on the console, it opens a valve, which then allows the air to go through the pipe. So it sounds complicated. Once you see some of these components, it'll make a little bit more sense. Let me first show you some of the different sounds that we can make on the organ. And actually, if you would like to come closer while I show some things on the console, it might be beneficial so that you can see what I'm doing over here. Turn the light. All right, so everybody probably knows what are at my feet are the pedals. And the keyboards here we call manuals. This particular organ has two. This manual we call the Great Manual. This manual we call the Swell Manual. Some organs will have one, some will have 5, some will have 6. I mean, there's all sorts of variety. Then we have the stops here. On other organs, you have to pull them out. These ones are tabs. So I'm going to push down a sound here on the bottom keyboard. Now the air is ready to go through underneath the pipe. So when I push this key, it will pull the valve and the air will go through that particular pipe. That's how it works. That one you just heard, we call it a diapason. Not really important to note. That's just the classic organ sound. It's kind of a bright sound. Then we have flute pipes, which you should really think of the organ as an orchestral instrument, because that's what each stop is, a different instrument of the orchestra. Here's a flute. It's a little bit lighter. I can even add tremolo onto it so that it sounds kind of like an actual flute player who might put some vibrato in the sound. So now you've got kind of a shaking. The other thing that we have is our reed pipes. The ones I mentioned where the air goes through and a actual brass reed vibrates. This one sounds like an oboe. It's actually, the stop is called an oboe. So we can get quite low or also quite high. Then, basically what you're doing with organ to create a big sound is you're just layering these stops one on another. So what I'll actually do is I'll start with that first pipe that you heard, and I'll add a stop. I'll play a chord so that you can hear it, and then I'll add a stop gradually, and you'll eventually hear full organ. Loud as this organ will go without playing the pedals. As you saw, each time I was just adding a new stop. Now that you've heard the instrument, let me tell you just a little bit more about the history. Those pipes that you see in the front, those blue facade pipes, are actually, they don't produce any sound. Those are the only pipes that are left over from the original organ, which was put in by John Brown in 1907. So those pipes were just left there purely for aesthetic reasons. All of the working pipes, the pipes that create sound, were installed by Wicks in 1957, the Wicks Organ Company. And you can read more about this in the insert in your program, but in researching a little bit of information for this concert, I found actually some more evidence that suggests that Wicks at that time in 1957 took pipes from an existing organ in Colorado Springs by the Schulke Company. And so that organ from Colorado Springs was built in 1891. So there may actually be pipework not only from 1957 that Wicks built behind these walls, but also pipework from 1891. So this organ is actually even older than we originally thought. Let me play you something now, just so you can hear the full organ with the pedals, and then I'll start taking some people back there. I think it will probably be best if we do one at a time, because as you'll see, it's kind of a tight space. Let me show you full organ real quick. sort of a build-up there, which reminded me of one last feature before you go back there that I would like to show you, and that is these big pedals right here in the middle. These operate basically a big wooden curtain. They're sort of like blinds on a window. If I push the pedal down, it shuts those wood panels so that sound cannot escape, or it can escape, but in small quantities. Then, when I open it, those shutters start to open and allow more sound out. So, while you're back there, I'll operate those so you can see that as well. Yeah, question.
Which came first, the piano or the organ?
The organ came first, yeah. The organ was the first keyboard instrument to ever be built. The piano actually didn't come about until, I forget the exact year, but it was the late 17th century. Yeah. And was not developed until the 20th century to look like the piano that we're used to today, the big black concert grand that's 9 foot long with a steel reinforced soundboard. That didn't happen until the 20th century, actually. And organs have been around since the ancient Greeks in smaller forms. Yeah. And any other questions before we, yes?
What are the stops physically doing to change the sound?
Right, so each stop basically allows air to go through a rank of pipes, and each rank of pipes looks different. It's built different. Some are metal, some are wood. And so when you push, for example, an oboe stop, it allows only the air to go through that oboe pipe, which is made out of metal and has a reed. When you turn on a flute stop, it only allows the air to go through a wooden pipe. So it has a different sound because of the different composition of the pipe itself.
Like multiple middle C's.
Yes, yeah. In fact, here, I'll show you. So I'll use your example, actually. So middle C, this one key on the organ can sound in a ton of different ways depending on which stop I push down. Heard that some of those were higher than others, some of those were lower, even though I was pushing the same key. That's because the organ uses a lot of what we call doublings, so it'll take the same note, and if I put a 4-foot pipe on that same note, it now plays it up an octave. Then if I put a 2-foot pipe, it plays an octave even higher. So we use doublings to create more sound. Yeah. Yes? Yes, it also happens, it can happen in the pedal. So on this organ, we actually only have 3 stops in the pedal. Here's the first one. There's the second one. It's a little softer. And there you go. There's the third one. All playing the same pedal gets those 3 different sounds. And I can even put all 3 of them down at the same time, and all 3 of those will sound.
It sounded to me like when you were adding all of those stops to the bow, and you had your hand in one chord, you didn't move your hand, that some came in low.
Yes.
It's like something up. That's what I'm asking.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So the question was just asked that when I play the same chord, she heard some sounds that would come in lower and some that would come in higher. That's exactly what we're talking about. So the bass line is what we call an 8-foot pipe. So that means that the middle C is going to sound like middle C. If I add a 16, because 16 is double the length of pipe of 8, right? You're now going to hear it down an octave. Hear how there's that lower sound now? Then if I go the opposite direction from 8, I go 8 to 4, here's a 4-foot, and here's the 2. So again, we're just layering sounds. Yes. Yeah. So what was just asked was what needs to be fixed on the organ, and actually, the organ is in fairly good shape considering its age, but there's a lot that can be done on the organ. This particular organ, the way it communicates, the console communicates with the pipes, is through a series of electromagnets, which only Wix makes, actually, this particular type of electromagnet. And they put it in the 1950s, in 1957. And already these magnets have had to be replaced over the years, and they're starting to show their age even more. And so what happens is that you'll play a note sometimes and the pipe won't speak because that communication, that link between the key and the pipe, it didn't get connected, right? So the pipework is in excellent condition back there. What really would need to be done to preserve this instrument for future generations would be to update the console, to get rid of the electromagnets, because eventually they're going to all fail. And the solution for that would be to look into a digital console. So to have the same organ that you have there, but have a communication device to talk to that organ that's digital. And that would last for forever, right? I mean, would last a very long time. You can also hear some hissing noise right now. That's small little air leaks in the bellows back there. That could also be patched. So as you can see, there's many things that could be worked on. And the only way to know really what to do would be to bring in a professional to appraise and to really create some options. Of course, my feeling is that this organ should never be replaced. And it should never be removed from this space because just like the building, it's an item of historical significance. However, it can't just continue to be just to sit here, right? We have to take some steps to preserve it, to make sure that we can continue to hear it in the future. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
So you talk about replacing the console. Is the console the organ, or is it the guts of the organ, the original wood frame that's still
Yeah,
in use?
so the console is basically, think of the console as like the steering wheel and the pedals in your car, right? That's the stuff that you interact with, that you operate. All of that stuff back there, that's the engine and your transmission and all of that kind of stuff. We need a new steering wheel. We need new brakes. And so there are some ways. I've seen organs that basically the guts of this part are taken out, and so that you have the beautiful original wood on the outside. That can be done. Other churches will opt for replacing this in its entirety. It depends on what the builder thinks would be not only the most practical and the best thing for the instrument in the space, but also, you know, what's the most cost-effective option given the budget and the needs of the church. Yes.
Does that change the whole console's operation for the organ?
Yeah, there could be a different layout for it. Again, that would be up to the builder of the console. But the important thing to know is that the sound of the organ would not change. Nothing back there would change, wouldn't sound different. The goal is to keep the instrument the same. It's just that the device that talks to that instrument needs to be updated. Yes. Yeah, we think now, like when we hear the word digital, we think of touch screens and this sort of thing, right? It would still look like an organ with wood and probably if, like some kind of a plastic key, it would look like an organ. It would look just like this. That wouldn't change. There's not going to be touch screens or anything like that. It's just mainly updating the circuitry, because right now, like I said, it's electromagnets that are talking to the pipe, and those you might actually see back there. Some of them, they look like if you were to breathe on them, that they would stop working. It's also maybe even a safety issue, I think, since it's electrical circuitry and something that should be professionally looked at for safety for the building. To get back to your question, yes, it would be all natural materials used, and nothing really futuristic looking or anything like that. Yeah. Yes.
Another question about the organist, meaning you. Can you go to any organ and play them similarly, or are they different in keys and styles?
Yeah, every organ is different. It's not like a piano where it's pretty standardized. Every organ will have different stops, but there's a lot of commonalities. So, like I mentioned, the pipe diapason. Most organs will have a diapason pipe there. It might sound slightly different because of the metal that was used, or the way it just reverberates in the room, or the different dimensions or something like that. But there are common stops, but each one is a different orchestra, basically. Each one will have different instruments that you can choose from. In terms of the key, the action of how the key feels and the pedal, they're pretty much the same. Yeah.
So you've got a demonstration for us later. How long did it take for you to learn this one?
Well, this one I'm very familiar with because I grew up playing this organ. My family and I have basically every summer of my childhood, I played this organ and practiced here. So this organ I'm really familiar with. But I would say, like, if a new organist who's never seen this instrument came in here, it would probably take, because it's a smaller instrument too, it would probably take them, an hour maybe to really get acquainted, to know what the organ can do, and start making registrations for what music they're going to play. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah, so, yes, the question was asked about a digital piano, and I think how that would differ from a digital console, right? There must be something going on with your digital piano, I think, that was causing that delay. But yeah, so a digital piano would be different than getting a digital console. Yeah, because a digital piano has saved in that electronic device. They have basically sampled each note of a real piano. So when you play that key, it plays through the speakers. Basically a recording of that note on a piano, a real piano. So it's producing sound electronically. If this console were to be digitized, it would not be producing sounds electronically, right? Because it would still be interacting. It would still be telling these acoustic pipes here, the wood and the metal, how to operate, right? It's just the device that's talking to those pipes that would be digital. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Well, I always had interest in organ and piano just from going to church. And like I said, my family we spend the summers here every summer, and the church was always nice enough to let me come and practice. And yeah, I mean, I started playing this organ probably before I could really reach the pedals fully with my legs. So yeah, I've known this organ a long time. Probably 7, yeah. Yeah. It just, I mean, it kind of seemed, because I had an interest in piano, and piano just kind of seems, I mean, I still do a lot with piano. I would actually say now I'm primarily a pianist. I try to do both, but piano is kind of like watching black and white TV, and then when I saw the organ, it was like, you know, IMAX. So, yeah, it's just the range, how it can be even quieter than a piano, it can be even louder than a piano. Yeah.
With that, is there any other instrument that can play the velocity that this has?
Probably not a single instrument, no. The best comparison, again, is the orchestra, right? That the full orchestra, yeah, that's the best comparison. And that's what, actually, starting in I should say the 19th century, organ builders actually started building symphonic instruments, symphonic organs, and composing organ symphonies. And the instrument has really kind of, it's always, since the 19th century, it's been compared to the orchestra because of its big tonal range.
So,
Yeah.
you know, the ones that play, you can hear drums and cymbals, does that stem off of the organ then?
Yeah, so there are actually organs that have percussion accessories, I guess you might call them, but you know, drums and things that imitate snare drums, bass drums, whistles. I've heard bird whistles on organs, all sorts of things. This organ actually, in the 70s, I believe, a congregant donated money to install chimes on this organ. And actually, the device to operate it is still here, but because of the electric circuitry, something I'm not an organ builder. I guess I'm kind of like the race car driver. I'm not a mechanic, you know. Like I don't know exactly what's wrong with it, but the chimes do not play anymore. Yeah. Any other questions before we start? I think the best probably course of action would be to anybody who wants to see behind the wall. Maybe we could line up or sit here, and I think the safest thing and the easiest thing, because it is quite tight back there, is one at a time. Yes, yeah, I'll play a little bit. So let me just tell you real quick before we start lining up what you'll see when you step back there. So we call it the organ chamber. Because that's where all of the pipes and the machinery are held. You're going to when you first step in there, there's a board, kind of a hatch. Underneath that hatch is the blower. Then the next thing right on the floor are the wind chests. That's where the air is being kept, and you'll hear the air in there. And then above that are the pipes. And you'll see a variety of different kinds of pipes, like we were just talking about, metal, wood. And I invite you to go all the way back. There's a corner here. So you'll see some smaller pipes when you first enter. I would go all the way to this wall. And for those who are really brave, you can continue back towards the far wall and peer in and see some of the larger pipes. Of course, this goes without saying, but try not to, I know you might hit the wall or something, that's fine. Brush up against the wall, but try to not touch any of the pipes or any of the machinery because, again, it's very, very old, and we want to keep it in the best condition possible. So that being said, let's start lining up. Yeah.
Can you speak of what is between this and the machine?
Yep. So
Where is it?
under the ground. Yeah, underneath the choir loft, there's a series of circuitry, that electromagnet circuitry that I mentioned before, that goes back there and communicates with the pipes. Yeah. So let's One at a time, I think, would be the best best option here. And while you're back there, let me play something.
Like being in an amusement park. I love it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We're going to give Isaac first a round of applause for playing that long just off the cuff. Thank you for letting us all have a chance to go up there and look Isaac. That was really cool. We're going to give him just a couple minutes before he starts his concert. So this is an opportunity for you to chat, get to know your neighbor. Your restrooms are just out the door here to the left. There's also cold water if you need a glass of cold water. We'll get started in about, Isaac, is 5 minutes okay? 5 minutes. Thank you.
I was trying to give you kind of some softer sounds, some louder sounds. Yeah, yeah. But also, I'm sure it comes, it reverberates off the top wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Projects out. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Mary Sandell, and for many years I had the privilege of calling this sanctuary my office. And this amazing instrument, one of the tools of my trade. I've since moved on to other pursuits. However, I am honored to be back here today to introduce to you a wonderful musician and an amazing piece of Salida history. You see, this building has played an important role in the musical history of this town for almost 130 years. There's a picture on the wall back there in the parlor of a group of musicians. It's the church band and choir. There's about 48 of them, and it's from 1907. They're sitting right there on this platform. You see the exact same wood paneling on the front. And the pipe organ was installed later that year. Now, you see, that's no small feat if you think about it in 1907. All right? Those of you that weren't here for the demonstration, the instrument goes all the way back behind here to the wall back there and down into the floor. So imagine getting that over Kenosha Pass with horse and buggy, right? No small feat in that time period. In the 1950s, the organ console, which is, as Isaac explained earlier, the command center, was installed to replace the original one from 1907. But since then, not a whole lot on the instrument has changed. It's been preserved, loved, and played by many. And with your help today, it will continue to make music for years to come. Now about our performer a little bit. Today you're in for a treat. Isaac Foreman is an extremely accomplished musician with a performance resume that I'm sure is numerous pages long. He has a master's degree from the Juilliard School and is currently working on his doctorate at Rice, his doctorate of musical arts at Rice University. So how did he end up here, you ask? Well, his family has a vacation home in Maysville, and he has played this organ off and on since he was a child. I've been told, and he even said so earlier, that when he first started playing, he couldn't reach the pedals. The organist at the time had to assist him. He has a wonderful program lined up for us today that I know will highlight both the depth and the brilliance of this amazing instrument. It's at this moment I'd like to remind you all to please silence any electronic devices that you might have with you. And I also want to make sure I invite you to the reception that will be held just on the other side of this wall afterwards. There you can talk and express the amazingness of this instrument. You can also hopefully ask Isaac a few more questions about the instrument. As you listen to the sounds coming out of these 126-year-old pipes, I ask you to consider where Salida might be today without its rich cultural musical history. Instruments and buildings like this are what make Salida unique. The stories, sounds, choirs, directors, audience members, and performers that have inhabited this space connect us. Today, you are part of this instrument's story. And with your financial help, yes, I'm making a financial plea because this instrument deserves to be preserved. With your financial help, you will start a new chapter to keep playing it for another 126 years. Please consider making a donation after the concert. There's baskets outside of both doors. Or you can use the QR code in your program to donate online to the Organ Fund. All of the money received today will go directly to the upkeep of the organ. I thank you in advance for your generosity and support. It is now my honor to introduce to you Isaac Foreman.
Thank you. So that first piece gave you a good idea of the sound that this organ can create. But believe it or not, that's actually not the loudest that it can get, and you'll be able to hear that a little bit later in the program. I chose these pieces to showcase the organ. So each piece on the program will show a different side of this instrument. The one you're about to hear, you'll hear a lot of softer sounds and the ability of this instrument to play lyrical melodies. In my left hand, you're going to hear some string sounds. So these stops are meant to imitate violins and violas. And in my right hand, you're going to hear one of the flute stops of the organ playing the main melody. And then, of course, we have also a bass line with the pedals. So I hope this provides good contrast to the first piece, and I hope you enjoy this more meditative piece. Thank you. So, also showcasing the organ, the next piece, I decided to play, it's actually typically played during Advent. It's a Christmas song. But I like it so much I decided to play it in July. Because I think it shows off three really important parts of this organ, which is its ability to play a really nice, rich bass line, so you'll hear that in the pedal. Then you'll actually hear the hymn tune, the chorale tune that this piece is based on in my left hand. And I'm using an oboe to play that. So you're going to hear kind of a reedy sound for that. And then a playful principal pipe from my right hand to play the counter melody that goes with the hymn tune. Hope you enjoy this. In the demonstration earlier, we talked about how the organ is a symphonic instrument, that many of its stops and its tonal range, its ability to play soft, its ability to play extremely loud, are all trying to mimic the symphonic orchestra. And you'll hear this especially in the next piece, which is itself an orchestral piece. This is a transcription for organ, and it's from Elgar's Enigma Variations. So basically the structure of the piece is that it starts extremely quietly, and it will crescendo, so you'll get to finally hear the full organ, and then at the end it comes back to basically nothing, just only one or two stops at the end. Speaking of full organ, this next piece has a lot of it. It's in two parts, this next piece, by German composer Max Reger. It starts with an introduction, that's the full organ part. And then at the end of that, it will reduce to basically nothing. And that's when the Passacaglia starts. Now, what is a Passacaglia? This is a very old form that originated in the 17th century. Basically, all it is a bass line, usually about 8 bars, and it loops over and over. And every time it loops, something else is added. This happens in popular music quite a bit, actually. When you think about a build-up of a pop song or a rock song, right? It starts out with maybe a bass line or a drum beat, and each verse, maybe you add something else. That's what happens here. So, like I said, it'll drop down to nothing at the start of the Passacaglia, and then you'll hear a very smooth build-up back to full organ. The final piece on the program has 4 movements. Each one of them, I think, shows, again, another aspect of this organ. The first one is in the style of a chorale, sort of like a hymn. It's very chordal sort of writing, and you'll hear, again, full organ. But what's different this time is you'll also hear some echoes. So I'm going between the lower keyboard, the lower manual, and the higher manual to get different levels of volume from the organ. The second movement shows maybe a more playful side of the organ. You're going to hear some lighter stops. It's in the form of a dance, specifically a minuet. The third movement, you'll hear some more lyrical sounds, string stops. And there's a little bit of a build in the middle. This movement is called Prayer of Notre Dame. The memories I have of this is during COVID, this piece was being played a lot, actually just before COVID. As you might remember, when the Church of Notre Dame in Paris had a horrible fire, and organists all over the internet were playing this movement as a tribute to that. The final movement starts very softly. It's in the form of a toccata, which is just Italian. It's an Italian word for touch. So it kind of demonstrates different touches that you can have on the organ. Short attacks, longer attacks, and this movement is basically just a big crescendo. So it starts soft, and you'll hear full organ to finish off the work.